Hi guys, if you have clicked on this video, more than likely you already know who I am, but just in case you don't know who I am, my name is Erin. I have decided to make this quick video just to share with my African American family. You are my family, you are my house. A few things that is not something that is shared in our community. It is a new perspective on things, and I know that in the business world, especially online and everything, there's always somebody saying how they can give you a new leash on life and how they can always offer you this new perspective and this new outlook on your business and all of this other kind of stuff. And that's incorporated in this to a degree, but it's actually more foundational than meets the eye. And so the reason that I'm sharing this is that I've been holding on to it for some months now. It kind of hit me around August, September, and I knew towards the end of last year, 2016, that it was something that I indeed needed to share. I needed to share it. And so I am doing that now. And the reason that I've held on to it that long is because I was trying to write a book. And I told a few close people that that's what I was working on. But sometimes when there's something you feel like you need to tell somebody, there is a period of time or a window in which you need to share that. And seeing as though I have not shared it within that window of time, I am doing it this way. And so I'm only going to give just a tidbit because I don't want to make this video too long. However, I just want to give the foundation as to where I'm coming from. And it's like really pressing on me, and sometimes I get really excited about sharing it, so I can't hold on to it any longer. I have been pursuing quite a few projects, and the way I see myself and the way I see my future, I realized that I cannot go too much further without first giving an offering or making some type of investment in that future. And so in me sharing the things that I have realized in these past months, this is my offering to my future, because this is something that I want you to have. I want you to see as I do. And so the way that I think, or the way that I see now, has allowed me freedom. And when I first saw that freedom, when I first got an inkling of that freedom, it just opened me up so wide. It is a love that I cannot explain that has caused that to happen. And in being open to myself and being open to obtaining freedom for myself, it opened me up to a lot of different other themes. Just to give you a quick background story, I was the music minister at my church. I am in the DC metro area, and I was the music minister at my church, and I had just become very exhausted. I was burnt out, I was tired, and I tried to go on as if I was not, to the point where I didn't know that I was exhausted. And when it finally hit me, it came out in an explosive, emotional manner. Not necessarily on anyone, but that's just the way I ended up expressing myself. And many of us know that's not really a good way in expressing yourself. You don't really want to hold on to things to when they blow up every time you want to talk about it. So that's the place where I was, and in ministering at other churches and singing at other churches, I ran across a lot of people who seemed to all have the same message for me. And it was weird. And I'm not really a person that kind of just takes everything that somebody said the Lord said, you know. But if it rings true for me, then I have to at least pay it some attention. And so these people that I knew weren't really, you know, one was from the east, one was from the west type situation. I knew they weren't really communicating with each other. They all started to come to me and say these same things, like, you know, hey, you know, you're gonna have to move on, right? You know, you're not going to be able to sit here. I had one lady tell me, you know, you can stay there if that's what you want to do. You don't want God to come move you, because if he does, that's going to be painful. And it made me afraid, because I would have to face some things that I didn't want to deal with. I didn't want to feel like I was leaving everyone hanging. And just to make a long story short, I went ahead and I left, and I went away for about 6 or 7 months before returning home. In those 6 or 7 months, I thought that I was there to pursue the plans that I had, the plans that I had already put in place. I wanted to build my businesses. I was, you know, ready to find me a building. I wanted to, you know, make my business plans, and I wanted to map it all out. I wanted to get my prices and all this other kind of stuff. But what I really ended up doing was confronting a lot of the inadequacies within myself. And just as a quick story, the first place I went was to stay with a friend. I stayed with her for about a month. And at the time, I was getting my event management certificate. And so I had a project that I needed to finish. So I had been going to the library to work on this project. So one particular day, I was laying in bed, and she had already gone to work. Her and her son had gone to where they needed to go for the day, and I was laying in bed, and I was kind of praying and meditating and all of that kind of thing, because even though I wasn't going to church, I felt like I needed to keep that going. So I was praying, and I clearly heard give and benefit, and I didn't quite understand what that meant, but it was something that has stuck with me since then. Well, that same day, I went to the library, and I had backed my car into the parking spot. So the back of my car was facing the buildings. In the front of my car, I could see the entirety of the parking lot. And so there was a young lady sitting with a little boy behind my car, and she approached my window at some point, and she knocked on the window. And when I rolled the window down, she said, well, I'm here with my brother, and we're trying to get back home, but I don't have any money to get on the bus. Well, usually when people ask us for money, there's like a plethora of things that kind of run through our head. And I had fallen into the habit of kind of just telling people, you know, I don't have any cash on me. And, you know, we all have different perspectives on how we deal with that. You know, some of us get all into, I'm not giving you money because you're gonna go buy booze with it, or I'm not giving you any money because I worked hard for my money, and you need to figure out how to, you know, take care of yourself and all that. I mean, it's just so many thoughts that we have when people are just constantly asking us for money. And I told the girl, I said, you know, well, I don't think I have any cash on me, but if I find any, I'll give it to you. So in that way, I wasn't really, you know, telling her off, or I wasn't really trying to get into what it was that she wanted to do with the money. So, you know, I felt like that was the nicest way to kind of shoo this girl away. So as I was sitting there eating my lunch, it started to beat me up a little bit, because I knew I had cash, and I just didn't want to give it to her. I just didn't feel like dealing with her. And I had to think about, how would I feel in that same position? What if she lost the money? What if somebody stole the money? What if she thought she had more money? Like, how would you feel if you were in that position. And so it's funny to me because that give and benefit came back to me in that moment. And so I found some money in my purse, and I was getting out the car to go into the library because I had finished my lunch. And as my car was facing the parking lot, I didn't see this girl walk towards the bus stop. I didn't see her get in a car with anybody else. I hadn't seen her even walk from behind my car. So, I didn't know if she had walked into another place or what. But the point of the matter is this girl was gone. Like, this whole thought process that I had, this whole beating up process that I had took maybe like 2 or 3 minutes, So it was funny to me that she was already gone. Like, weren't you just standing here asking people for money? And so I contacted my sister, and I felt so bad because it made me feel like I had missed out on my opportunity to benefit because I didn't give. And so the reason that I'm sharing this with you is because this is me giving. And I cannot benefit in anything that I'm trying to pursue without first giving what I have to give. And no, I don't currently have any money to give, but I have this new perspective. And so as time went on, I started to see a lot of things about faith. I saw a lot about intent, and it was a time where we were, everybody was kind of all up in arms about the amount of black men that had been killed by the police. And so there was a lot of protesting going on, a lot of rioting, and we were just angry. And I wanted to create something in which all of us could come together and kind of call on something beyond ourselves. And it came to me in watching different videos where in looking at other cultures, how the men would come together and they would have their war dances, or just dances that they would do as a culture. And but what I wanted to create, the feeling had to be on one accord. It's hard for me to really explain, but I felt like we all needed to come together in one place with the same mindset. And so I couldn't do a praise and worship concert because that would cut out all of us that don't go to church. And so in and of itself, there's a lot of different issues that come along with that, in the African American community. But as I continued to think about it, I realized that the only thing that was going to bring us together was love. When you go to a concert with your or to see your favorite artist, you can go into somewhat of a worship type situation, and it's not really that you're worshiping that person as much as it is the feeling that you have about their music, the way that they're presenting it. It's inclusive of that person, but it's really the love, the energy that you get from each other. Concerts are exciting. They have a feeling that go along with them. So, to me, it dawned on me like, hey, this is worship. This is worship because we're all in a place together and we're all directing our love in the same direction. And so I realized that it was love that was going to actually save us as a people, and not only save us, but it will catapult us into a whole different level, a whole different level of living as a people. And it starts with giving, and it starts with loving. And as cliche as that sounds, when I coupled it with the new perspective that I had on my own life and the things that I had realized about my own inner self, in connecting with myself, it created this vast space. There was this large thing that had revealed itself, and it is something that is bigger and can perform for us than we can as individuals. And so even though it starts on an individual level, it is when all of us come together and we institute love as our only law that it will basically cause us to be able to change our place as a people, as a house, as a family, as a community of people. And so it's with this that I say it's not about what you receive, it's about what you give. And if it is something that is no sweat off your back to give, if I give it and it does not come back to me, does it hurt me? Does it harm me? Then give it. We are holding on to too much. And in that holding on, we cannot receive because our hands are full of the things that we refuse to let go. And so you have to always be in a constant place of giving in order to receive. If all of us were giving, then you would indeed receive from somebody else. But the level in which you attain is not for you to have. It doesn't belong to you. It's for you to give to somebody else. So when we look at it this way as a system, we're actually elevating as a whole because we've learned how to incorporate love as our only law. And so there's so much more to this new perspective. There's so much more to this new outlook. And there's actually so much more to my story. But I just wanted to make this short video to, I only want to provoke thought. I'm not trying to necessarily say this is what we need to do and what you need to do. I'm not coming from that. I'm not doing this because I like being in front of the camera, or I'm not doing this, but this is literally just my offering. This is just my offering, and I want to offer it to us first because we're so inundated with outside opinion on a personal level and on a level as a community that we have not taken the time to pause and ask, what do I think? How do I feel? And that's what 6 or 7 months did for me. I paused and I thought I was there to keep going, but I was in a cycle that I needed to break. And I realized that I was a chaotic person because I was an unbalanced person. And so those things that I applied to myself, we can apply to ourselves as individuals, but we can also apply those things as a community of people. And so it is those type of things that I want to share. I want to talk about faith. I want to talk about intent. I want to talk about pursuing our passions. And I want to be able to explain to you what that system looks like. I want to paint the picture of this kingdom. And I know a lot of us in church, we talk about kingdom living and we talk about, but it is far beyond what you think. And it's not until you let go of what you think and what you think the picture looks like that you will be able to go beyond and find the freedom that you're looking for. When I changed my mentality, or when I found this new perspective of myself, and I was able to let go of how I thought it was supposed to go. Because again, I told you, I thought I was going away from one thing and it ended up to be another thing. When I let that thing go and I became open to possibility of what it could be, I started to accept things as they came. And so there's so much more to this. It's not really as superficial as it sounds. We have learned how to love from a superficial place with a bunch of things that you have to have. A lot of, I can't think of the word right now, but we have conditions. That's the word. We have a lot of conditions for, whether or not you deserve my love. It's not about that. It's not about riding with a person from A to Z all the time. Sometimes you're just there for a particular purpose to give for a particular time. There's only one thing you're supposed to give. It doesn't mean that you need to be in a relationship with that person. That's not what this love is about. And so I hope that you stay tuned for more information. Like, I want to give this to you, but I want to give it to you in a way that you understand that it's more than just what it sounds like. It's more than just giving a homeless person, $5 on the street. It's more than just saying I love you. There are actions, there are feelings, there are foundations that we need to reset within our community. So I hope that you got at least a little bit out of what it is that I'm trying to say, and I hope that you stay tuned for, however else I feel like I can, best get this to you. But it's mostly for our people first. It's for our family first. We have to take care of our house first. It doesn't mean that there's this discrimination against other people. When you are advocating for one thing, it doesn't necessarily denote hate for another thing. So again, I hope that you stay tuned for what is next, whatever that is, whether or not I can get this book out, or whether or not I can, make it an audio project, or however it comes out. I hope you stay tuned for it, and I hope that you are open to this new perspective.